also big picks on this current patch.
Yep.
Probably we'll see Corki coming from like an AD carry role or the mid lane. We have seen both.
We have, and Shen as a first ban is it's interesting from Inspire. Shen, I mean, he's strong right now, and a lot of LCS players still feel the same. Kind of outclassed by Tam Kench, but he's also banned in this game, but fill a similar role in terms of being big beefy tanks. But Shen has the ability to teleport out of the top lane, which is a big thing for him, and then Lissandra banned as well. So all this is expected apart from the Shen ban.
The Shen is actually really not expected. Depending on who you listen to, people have different opinions of Shen. I mean, one of the most notorious voices recently for anti-Shen play is Saint Vicious. Every time a Shen's locked in, he's always talking about how bad it is. I still think Shen is very good when it comes to being a top laner that has the presence on the map. Unfortunately, he's getting reworked, so won't have that real same presence, more of a support. But that's an interesting ban. Rek'Sai being banned away when Graves is up, Elise is up for the jungle, and it's all because of the man on MOU's Dan. Dan would like go Rek'Sai, go Warrior, Black Cleaver, and split push in a side lane. This is what he did all through summer as well.
It's interesting that you would ban that specifically against him because you don't want that playstyle to come through. We saw it on other champions as well, but Dan played a different jungler in every single game for like 8 games in a row. Like he had like Zac in there, Rek'Sai in there, Sojani in there,
Renekton.
like Renekton jungle. So we don't know what's going to come out of Dan, but they just didn't want to play against that. Lulu was the final ban, which makes sense. I mean, Lulu's Lulu. Corki as a first pick, though, is interesting.
And what I would expect here is like a Kalista pickup, because one of the AD carries we've seen do fairly well in that setup is Kalista having the early presence. Yes, the Corki can flex to mid lane. That is something that is fairly common right now. But I feel like MOU's for their setup with Cedrian as well. Cedrian did well on Kalista. I would expect that to be a rotation in response. Get a very strong lane and see if you can set up a good laning phase for yourself here against Inspire.
Well, it's going to be the Kalista lock-in alongside the Alistar. We see that combination a lot because you can pick up the Alistar, throw him in, and then he just combos them, just generally strong. We also saw the Alistar with Tam Kench is kind of the same theory, where you can throw him in because he has the ultimate and doesn't need to build that many tanky stats because he has the ultimate. So it's a nice spike at 6 and also in those early skirmishes along with the Kalista. So waiting on those next 2 picks from Inspire. Again, as you mentioned, the Corki can flex to bot lane or mid lane. We've seen a lot of Corki Ezreal and then swap those around. We had a game where we felt they should have been swapped the other way around, but
We'll see if that happens again. This situation, jungler Elise Graves is the most likely. Ooh, don't do that. I'm not so keen on this from the perspective that this is what we saw Renegades Banditos do last week.
Triple AD carry.
Just go 3 AD carries, and then suddenly they ran out of the ability to burst through a tank. And especially when there's an Alistar already on the other side who has the damage reduction, will naturally be building a more tanky build path with nothing really shown from MOU's either. All they need here is wave clear, a tank from the top lane, and a jungler that can survive the early skirmish against Graves. And theoretically, if you look at like a big picture, it makes the game very difficult for Inspire to close. Not impossible. If Inspire can get ahead first, I'm running ahead of myself here.
Yeah.
If Inspire get ahead with this comp, they should push very, very quickly.
Yeah, you're getting ahead of yourself, but it's very clear what MOU's have to do from here, and it's very unlikely they'll do anything other than pick a tank top and build a composition around triple AD carry, which Inspire's already shown their cards. I want to know what else they do, because you have to build a front line in front of this now. Without Lulu being on the board, you can't really buff them up in that way. Alice has been taken away as a front line. Could see something like a Trundle. I don't know really what you'd run top lane. You don't really want hard engage that much because you have so much poke on this team. On the other side, you could pick something like a Malphite. They were hovering Taric. Taric top lane's kind of cheesy, but fulfills kind of the same role.
I don't want to see Taric. We've seen enough of him in like 1 game from Edward.
Yeah.
Two
games, undefeated, man.
I know, it's really annoying, but anyway, if it works, it works. Single target CC, man, it's good. At this point, there's the wave clear mid laner coming out from MOU's. That's going to be tough to deal with, because what you've basically put here is like Corki that has decent siege and ability to push and clear. Ezreal with his ult does. Graves at short range does have the ability to clear waves very quickly, but it's nothing in comparison to how fast a Victor gets rid of the wave as soon as it pushes to his turret. So what will Inspire look for from top lane is what they're looking for, unless Graves goes to the top lane.
Yeah, that's possible.
And then Gragas in the jungle. but I haven't seen Gragas jungle in so long.
No, we've seen so many like high damage junglers recently, like the Lee Sin Kindred, even Rek'Sai to some extent, but still seeing some Cinderhulk, some Warrior. Even saw a little bit of Nidalee, but she's not that good compared to the top tier picks right now. Gragas, we can see him fit in here. We'll see how he does. I would assume that's jungle, but...
So, looking at his utility here, you can blast the Victor forward fairly easily. You can not really do too much against the Kalista if you land somehow a barrel right behind her and blast her forward. She's fairly mobile though, so I'd expect like the jump down or flash to be fairly easy to avoid that. What do MOUZ round their lineup with? Looking for a top laner. He did mention the Malphite, and that is likely to be Graves in the top lane. So you would have to imagine that is a particularly good matchup for somebody that wants to just go armor and just survive. So Beansu, we've seen him on Malphite before last year, had decent performances. Again, this is kind of going towards a little bit more towards teamfight from MOUZ when it comes to what their top lane role does, but the rest of their lineup doesn't really scream that. Victor is decent in those situations, Kalista is decent, but I wouldn't call it a wombo combo.
No, it's not a wombo combo, but they'll be fantastic in skirmishes no matter what combination of players they have in there. TP down from Malphite in the 3v3 would be strong. We see the swap up here for Gragas into the top lane.
Okay.
I have to think about that for a little bit.
I mean, I'm wondering whether they're going to swap back. I don't think Gragas jungle is that good right now when you look at what he has to contend with, especially like a Lee Sin, who's just going to get in his jungle and go like, hello.
And you're dead.
So we are just ticking down the last seconds on my screen, and it has been locked in. Okay. And completely, the swap has gone through. So that is Gragas in the top lane, which this is a long time since I've seen Gragas top. Because he was top lane before, if you remember, just around the time when Maokai was starting to come in, people were playing Gragas as well, top. So, long time. But that's a source of AP. That's a source of magic damage.
It is. Sure. It depends on how he builds as well. Whether he'll go tank, he'll build like a Sunfire if he needs a wave clear, or he'll go like tanky AP with Rod of Ages. Like, there's so many question marks around this pick. Yeah, I don't even know what you would start. You could go Corrupting Potion or like Durand Ring, or would you just go like Durand Shield to sustain out the lane? Like, you're up against a Malphite, so realistically it's just a farming lane anyway. Realistically,
the laning phase is
fine.
Is fine. So I'm intrigued to see where this Gragas actually has the impact of being Gragas, if that makes sense. I would assume it's the ability to step up to turrets and say, I'm going to barrel you backwards.
Just going to barrel you backwards. Well, if you like the Gragas, make sure to use those hashtags IEWin or hashtag MOUWin if you think this just solid composition is going to pull through for Mousesports. We're only a couple seconds away from getting into this game. And it will be the first one of the spring split in EU Challenger into these best of twos. Excited to see what these two teams have to offer in this one, especially with the Gragas top. Just want to see how this does. He started with Durand's Ring. Okay.
I'm really intrigued. Like, this is actually really cool to see something that is different, because there was some focus on top lane. Gangplank was banned, Lissandra was banned, Tahm Kench was banned, Shen was banned, Lulu was banned. So that is a lot, but IE have been spotted by Dan. Dan should be fine here. They actually can't really catch up. Pillar at a corner may have been able to do it, but Wendelbo didn't look too confident to throw that out. He's just going to distract the rest of IE as MOUZ go into the topside jungle as well. So vision control on topside for both teams. Will we end up seeing a swap though, is my question.
It's a possibility, but the teams have a little while until they need to lock that in. One of the big things out of the Champions League, because we didn't speak about it, was also the Graves going into jungle now up against Lee Sin. He can't just dominate that matchup like a Kindred or something squishy in the jungle, like a Nidalee. Lee Sin finds it very easy to get outside of the blast radius of Q, which makes him just destroy other junglers.
So MOUZ have spotted Dan actually on that ward very, very closely. Just clipped the vision. Top lane is where IE are sending their duo lane as well. They want to dodge this Kalista-Alistar matchup. At this point, Woolite and Wendelbo not super confident in taking that setup when it comes to actually having to deal with a Kalista in lane. You know, Trundle doesn't offer a massive amount in that setup, not until post 6. when you can deal with a little bit of what Alistair is bringing to the table when it comes to at least some of the damage that you'll take away from him and a little bit of the armor and magic resist. But obviously, it's all on that damage reduction post 6 for Alistair, which does not get affected by it.
You cannot steal that from Alistair.
That's mine and I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
So that kind of situation, the laning phase, Inspire are just trying to neutralize for now.
Interesting thing about when IE were just taking that camp there, it was just something very small, but Maxlaw did not kite the camp, so he actually took a bit of damage from that one. I think he ended up smiting it, so he got a lot of his health back, but I feel like it's slightly inefficient when you have Graves who can almost infinitely kite a camp. Yes, if you have Gragas at the same time hitting it, then it makes it a little harder, because then the camp will hit him instead, but either way, I felt like it could have been juggled a little more optimally.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's one of those champions like Elise that you can pretty much clear without taking much damage at all. I want to take a moment here to look at mid lane. We just saw Rux, you can see him on the minimap, is moving into the lane. Ganking Corki mid, post level 2, very difficult, because Valkyrie exists and Flash exists. So not going to get a kill on Cosq. If he can manage to burn the Flash, that is going to be a good thing. You can interrupt Valkyrie as well with the Alistair with a nicely timed pulverize. So that's what he was looking for, but it is a tough ask. However, it does buy Sebex a little bit of a CS advantage in that middle lane.
Another important interaction with Alistair when he's ganking lanes with dashes, there seems to be a new interaction where if you start a dash and then Alistair goes in with headbutt, then he will just arrive at the location where they were.
Yeah, and that's actually something that Mithy I saw talking about on Twitter yesterday, I think it was, with Crepper. They were talking through Alistair headbutt pulverize animations, and they were like, well, it's a new mechanic, it's really annoying.
Yes.
It means I miss more combos. So if you dash in the middle of the combo, sometimes it actually just doesn't go through. So the likelihood is we'll see more missed combos just from that being the case.
It's specifically when you start the dash animation as Alistair starts headbutting, and then he just arrives and it's just like, well, okay. So Cosq could do that to him in this game, something to look out for. So can Maxwell and Sartorius. Mid lane, Sebex, kind of just going even right now. Sebex, again, player we haven't really seen since 2013, up against Cosq, who we've seen pretty much in every single split since Challenger existed. Cosq, pretty decent showings when the first time we saw him and then the following split, but in the last split he was somewhat unimpressive. He didn't blow me away. I
would say the same. I would completely agree with that. Spring split with Lowland Lions, Cosq was like, man, this guy is dumping on people all the time with his Ari, really impressive performances. Yeah, the Cassiopeia as well. Summer was just kind of like, well, Cosq's doing well, but he's not carrying to the same extent. A lot of what they were doing was more about Woolite, was more about Wicked. And Cosq was just kind of there. Yep. As Rux is kind of there on a ward right now. Gets hit by Maxlord. Good pillar.
Oh, the pillar will slow him down immensely. Dan is there. He was thinking about helping, but if Rux was going down, he wasn't going down with the ship. And Dan backs away back into the top lane. Taric there, just pushing out this wave. Also, renamed to Taric, it is Sedrian.
Yes. He also hovered Taric. That was the interesting thing. Rux, at this point, I want to kind of look at that interaction there with the pillar going down. Very, very calm, very collected for Rux, especially for a player that has never really played at this stage before. Not to flash, not to burn anything. Faced with two people, pillar right in the middle, knows he has enough time to just path around it, put out a heal, and walk away. So not phased in his first game here for Mouse.
Good to see. Beansu already in the opposing jungle. This is the top laner, by the way, who is just clearing away this pink ward. Maxlaw in the jungle did not decide to stop him because he has no vision on Dan currently, so they could be at least in around the corner, he just didn't know, so it's worth letting the pink ward just go away there. And picked up the Tracker's Knife as well as his first pickup, so actually opting less towards the damage, which Dan did, and opting towards the vision instead.
So the towers were traded. Beansu has put himself quite far up the lane here, but he doesn't know Maxlaw is around. You can see up in the top side, Mouse have put their duo lane up there, up against Gragas and Wendelbo. So this is going to be a really tough lane to get anything from for Gragas and Trundle. They don't really have any abilities to even farm out the wave. Gragas Q does not do the same amount of damage that you would expect from the Gragas we've seen of old, where if you just pop it, it can deal a fair amount of damage. It now requires time to charge. This is a very, very old change, where Gragas's Q does far less damage than it used to. Does get a greater slow than it used to before the as it charges up to the maximum, but will take a while.
Rux takes a bit of damage there from Maxlaw, just walking extra wall. Alistair does not need to be as concerned as a Squishy. Like, if Victor or Callista went next to a wall, they would be dead. But Rux is okay. Ward gets placed down, but he knows it's there, so they have that information. Cosq clears out a ward in the mid lane, which I believe was just in tower range, so he was able to take that one out. 7 minutes into the game, looks like the first dragon will be going down to Mousesports, and Dan and Beansu just tank this and take turns doing so.
Yep, so it's going to be the dragon picked up pretty much for nothing on the side of Inspire, but I want to talk a little more about that Gragas, because one of the last times we saw Gragas is in a laning capacity, people were actually maxing W and getting Lichbane, because you just smack people with the keg and it would do a lot of damage. But ever since the changes a long time ago, I was talking about everybody has to put points in Q, and that is exactly what Sartorius is doing. He is maxing Q right now. You can see he's building towards AP. I wonder whether he'll go Catalyst. Has been engaged upon though, but has a fair amount of health for now. Will regen some of that up with his happy hour as well.
I believe the Lichbane was a European approach to Gragas, and other regions were opting towards a Rod of Ages first.
Yes. Yeah. It was only a very kind of fleeting interest as well, if I must be honest.
Yeah, he wasn't around for very long.
It was always funny though, because the keg animation has such a different thing, and you just pick it up and smack it on their head. Yeah. It's great. I love it.
And he could go that this game because he's only gone for double Durans. And double Durans is such a good thing to top laners. You actually don't see that many people pick it up, but like specifically in solo queue, Alistair Top's still a good pick. Not in LCS, unfortunately. But double Durans is great. Double Durans on any AP top laner in general is good because of the extra mana you get from every minion kill, because the passive stacks. It basically gives you all the mana you need for your lane.
What I would kind of add on to that is it heavily depends on the back timing. In this situation, this was a 2 versus 1 setup where Sartorius didn't have time to sit there to wait until maybe getting the money for Catalyst. In a 1 versus 1 setup, it is a little bit easier to get that. And you can see that Sartorius doesn't even feel pressured at this point to go Catalyst first. He's opting Blasting Wand with a Ruby Crystal now as well. So with the extra mana regen you've already talked about, he feels confident just to go for that extra damage.
Mana regen and health you get from it is enough, even though it gives less than Catalyst. Got a trade in the bottom lane. Now the flash and the knock-up as well from Beansu. There comes the collateral damage and the ultimate. The first blood goes to that top lane Gragas. And Maxlaw with the follow-up onto Lee Sin. Can he get this one down? Dan will have to jump away with the ward jump. Warlight under attack from the mid lane. And Cosq trying to return fire. Wendelboat coming in here. Or rather, Sebex. Cosq's in the top lane during the AD carry.
At that point, you can just see the potency of the Gragas to pull people backwards. At this point, didn't even need it. Just ults for the damage off the kill with that extra Blasting Wand AP that he's picked up. Rux is still in trouble, but along comes Sebex to help him out. From that, IE have taken their second tower of the game now. Will Mouse be able to answer top? It doesn't look like it because of the job you were talking about that Cosq did up there. Goes up, clears the wave, makes sure Tarek has to back away to his own inner tower now, and kind of resets any kind of advantage Mouse were looking to get off that. Yes, they got the dragon in the last phase of play, but at this point, I would say that Inspire will be far more happy with that setup off the bottom lane.
Mid lane, Wendelboat looking for the gank to happen. Sebex taking a lot of damage from these ultimates. The missile barrage doing so much he'll have to flash away. Rux now in the middle lane. The ultimate does not tag Sebex. If he did, he would have to go back for sure. But now he can at least stay in range and probably clear this out with a laser. I don't believe he has an upgrade yet, so no, he does not. So not going to clear that wave very quickly, but he has the help of Rux and Dan, so not going to be too difficult for him. Does mean that Inspire also have the tempo in this game from that last play, taking away the blue, putting down aggressive wards, means they can start pressuring lanes like the mid lane, because they have the vision towards the bot side. Beansu has his teleport if they want the engage, but this could be quite difficult for Miles as they are continuing to take poke. Collateral damage also used for poke.
In comes Dan from the side though. Can he get onto Cosq?
He's looking for Wendelboat, looking for the knockback as well. I don't think he used the ultimate. He did, but no one got knocked back. Maxlaw has to die instantly. Beansu comes in from the bottom lane though with the teleport, the knockback onto Rux, picks up a second kill, this one for Cosq. And 1 kill apiece, 1 kill into the jungler, but IE are still looking for this push into the middle lane.
And this is the fundamental problem here with Sebex rushing for that Frost Queen's claim, is that without that extra explosion on the laser, very difficult to clear the waves. I mean, had he only put like 1,000 gold into that, he would have been able to clear the waves, but it is still death ray 4 levels, but the basic ability, no augment on that. And Inspire look at that, they say, okay, even though you've just come in and Dan somehow managed to kick Cosq the wrong way as the Valkyrie came out, Inspire is still willing to siege because they just have enough pressure here without the wave being cleared away in front of them.
Yeah, I got very confused with the Dragon's Rage there. It's just like, it looked like no one moved.
I think it was because like Cosq was Valkyrieing and then it kicked him at a very slightly different angle. He managed to pass past Dan so that the kick actually hit him back towards his own team.
Interesting. Might be interesting to see again, but Sebex is able to clear out this wave now that he's got the augmentation on his E. Okay, I got my wish granted. Again. Thank you, observers.
I think he gets Cosq here.
Yeah, he kicks him in the same direction.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you see the 3 Valkyrie things, and then he just keeps on going. Just gives him an extra speed boost. From this point, though, this is just Sartorius on a really weird pick for the meta. Just one that he seems very comfortable on is the first thing I'll note. Like, that's 2 for 2 for ultimates. Gragas ult is like one of the most notoriously missed ultimates in the game, alongside Varus ult.
Yeah.
Just because it's so easy to miss. It's so pinpoint precision. But now is the key thing. Sebex has picked up that first augment. Now his laser will clear the waves out. I would have liked to have seen it earlier, just because that mid-outer turret, if it remains for like 20-25 minutes, it makes it so difficult for these Corki Ezreal compositions to actually do anything, because you're forced into a situation where you have to try and force a fight, and that's not what they want to do.
And we saw that in the Millennium series as well, where mid lane just didn't die because Pretty was just like, I'm just going to sit here as Orianna or Anivia and stop you from pushing. So Victor can do the same thing, but because he didn't pick up that augment, is going to be slower to the punch. Rux able to take away this bottom river ward, and with Dragon live, maybe Maz can pick up the second one as well, deny it from Inspire. In terms of the better team fight here, Malphite has his ultimate. In fact, everyone's got their ultimates apart from Warlight. Maybe Maxwell's about to be called out here. Rux trying to get in range with the Pulverize, but a great Valkyrie from Cosq, a good quick draw from Maxwell, gets them both away from the potential engage.
Big ult used from Taric, though, at this point, and man, MOUs are starting to look like they're floundering for options here. They are looking for engages, but they actually just have this wave clear composition which doesn't need to engage all that much, but they are behind. Also, with this Malphite from the top side, it's pretty much the only thing he can do now. The only thing he can really do is set up reliable engages, and even then, if Inspire still have their flashes available, it is a fairly predictable ult to get.
It is, but Binsu also has his ultimate. Corki! Yeah, so a little too close for comfort, but still Inspire managed to take away their prize. Now the bot lane push comes out and Mouse go for the mid lane. It's not going to be quite a base race just yet, but I'm not sure about this choice for Mouse. Okay, now they're teleporting back, and he got interrupted.
This is so good for Inspire, though, because that wave dies. Now Inspire interrupt the recalls, and now have that extra attack speed from Ezreal at this point in front of an inhibitor tower. This is Mouse just struggling without their engage tools here. They got kind of baited into this composition that was meant to wave clear and couldn't. So much of this game has hinged on the inability of Victor to wave clear, and that is not something that a Victor normally has a problem with.
Unreal. Just before 15 minutes, Inspire pick up an inhibitor. Sebex will just about take this middle lane turret, but they send 4 people back from Mouse. They didn't even get in range of Inspire, so now they can just walk through this jungle, place down wards, get all of that vision information, now back off with all that extra gold and the pressure in the bot lane. Mouse just lost so much from that play.
They did, and you know, we were talking in Champion Select about how Mouse, with this fairly good composition, in my estimation, when you see the Graves, Corki, Ezreal first 3 picks, looked like they had a great setup here, but so much has thrown that composition off. The Gragas providing more AP damage from the top lane. Just the Victor choices to go for like that more pick style with a Frost Queen's Claim Rush. And the way Mouse have been playing this game is really awkward with what exactly they were looking to do. Taric never really established enough of a lane advantage. Yes, he's up in CS, but that's never transitioned further in order for Mouse to stay in this. And it just means that who are they looking for now to do things in this game? Sebex still is on wave clear duty, but hasn't done the best job of it so far in this game. Taric now, does he have the damage to chunk through people? He's only got a Blade of the Ruined King right now. We're going to have to see if there is a big fight.
The main concerns we both had for Inspire as their composition was triple AD carry. We've seen it fail before because you have to make the right decisions at the right time to push your advantage if you get it in the early game. And Inspire have really done that. They really know how to open up the game. Dan doesn't even land the resonating, the Sonic Wave for the resonating strike, so he won't be able to get in range to steal away the Herald. Now the Herald goes into Consecu for the extra damage and the extra poke. That transitions onto his ultimate as well, so his poke is going to hurt even more, and Tarek does not want to be there particularly.
No. He's like, okay, I can hop around a little bit, but I'm just going to have to back away at this point. Rux now manages to get a ward in the side, but look at the damage that Rux is taking from Maxlaw.
He has to ult so early on because that's what happens if you fight a Graves in the jungle. Binsu looking for the engage, and he gets blown up by Maxlaw. That is what happens if you go into the jungle with Graves.
That rock is not solid. It's more like chalk right now. He's got Bami's Cinder plus a cloth armor and a null magic. Like, this is not a tanky champion. He finally upgrades to Sunfire Cape, but look at how fast he died in that engage. Didn't even get his ult off.
No, and he even went for an armor item first, but it's just the base damages with the warrior enchant and the fist is just enough to completely detonate him. That was actually ridiculous. Top lane, Inspire zoning away with just the with just the pillar, and Tarek had to flash away from that just from the poke from Consecu and Woolite. They are playing this composition so well.
Yeah, and this is the strength of this triple AD composition when ahead. If you get this kind of lead, you can push the map so incredibly quickly. And this is, I say only, this is with only a 4,000 gold lead. But 4,000 gold at 18 minutes is a significant advantage. In the LCS, typically we've seen kind of these games with this pacing be like 7,000 gold lead.
Yeah.
This is incredibly early for IE to be pushing this kind of game, and it's impressive from a lineup that we were talking about. How can they play together when, you know, they've not had the most amount of experience coherently on teams in Challenger? None of them have really stuck together for a whole lot. Now we see Inspire potentially at full pace.
This could be a team that actually stays together now with the results from week 1. If they pick up this win and maybe the second one as well, picking up 3 points in the first week would be pretty nice up against MOUZ.
Also, let's not kind of count MOUZ out, because the one thing you can always say with a Malphite, and to some extent with a Victor as well, there's always room for a team fight. There's always room for one big ult from Malphite into the Alistar ult with the Kalista as well. There is a lot of potential to fight here. Can they find it from being this far behind is the question. Do they have just the damage and the survivability in that fight to take it to Inspire? Depends on Binsu's ultimates. And everybody was talking about MOUZ could be like this team that are top 3 here in Challenger. Inspire are saying that, you know, well, screw what everyone thinks. Yep. We're going to be top 3 in Challenger.
Apparently, the options for MOUZ to go into engages, though, is quite difficult in this game. Even in the last engage that we saw from MOUZ, Rux had his headbutt, but just chose to click Q instead. So he didn't get either of them. What he wanted to do was click Q, headbutt someone into his team, but should have just gone for the engage, because then his team might have been able to follow up. So even in the opportunities they've been presented, the execution of their engages have not been that good.
Oh, Sebex has to be careful here. Stepping next to a wall. That is a pretty dangerous thing to do against the Graves.
Yeah, it also lines you up for all the poke that's coming in from Consecu and Woolite. And Rux and Sebex have just been poked out of this fight.
There's the extra attack speed, and that's a turret gone. Inhibitor did spawn in the bottom side. Sartorius is pushing top as well. At this point, this is just good usage of the different lanes here. Making sure they've got the teleport using top laner up in top, the rest of the pack in mid to take out a turret, and at some point they'll look to swing bottom for the inhibitor, but I actually full well expect them to kind of opt for this dragon first and maybe try and bait the Baron. This would actually not be a particularly bad time to look to set up the vision control to try and bait MOUZ into a bad fight.
This is one of the times as well where MOUZ will find it slightly easier to go for a fight as well if they do get the engage, because Inspire haven't hit their second damage spikes yet, and they're matching them 1-for-1 in terms of spikes. As soon as the second item gets finished in mid lane and bot lane, then a lot more difficulties in those fights, and they do get that small reward.
Yeah, so now I'm looking at it, actually, Binsu's teleport is about to be up. So as long as MOUZ don't get drawn across the map, apart from Binsu, they can look to teleport in and utilize them in a fight. So I think Inspire may actually not opt for a Baron bait setup. I mean, they don't have many options left to actually keep pushing, if I'm being honest. Their options are go to bottom lane and look for the exposed inhibitor, or try and bait Baron. Realistically, there are no inner towers to take, no outer towers, only inhibitor towers, and those are very difficult as it is. So Inspire need to keep MOUZ on their toes, otherwise they risk this game slowing down. And if this game slows down, that's when the extra armor comes out from MOUZ. That's when MOUZ can survive through the damage from the Graves and from the Corki. Ezreal will get stronger as this game goes, and actually is already at Iceborne Gauntlet with the Mana Mune, Mura Mana, already completed. So he's at a really annoying level of damage right now.
The question is for Inspire, can they take MOUZ in a 5-on-5, just a straight-up 5-on-5? If they can, they win the game. If not, they're basically still a poke team trying to contest an objective where you do not want to be the first ones there. You want to poke some out of the area. Otherwise, MOUZ hard engage on you like this, but Warlight already jumps away with the Arcane Shift, and Rux is there with a second knockup. This is a 5 versus 3 so far for MOUZ. They're looking for their first victim. It's gonna be Maxlore, and Coscube does get out alive, and now he pokes from the outside. The fast bomb doesn't land. Santrin looking for the engage. Beanstu getting locked down. He gets taken out by Cosq, and Wendelbo finding the follow-up, jumps over the wall, trying to find that pillar, slows down Taric with the chomp. Sartorius is there as well, but Taric takes down 1 kill onto the support. A 3-for-2 advantage over to Inspire.
MOUZ threw a whole lot at that fight, going in with Beanstu onto Maxlore and Wendelbo, and I think it's actually just going to result in Inspire being able to push a little bit further in. They have run out of minions for now, but Inspire turned themselves around. Sebek should be able to clear this if he just has that laser, but he did use it. Now Taric is back. So in that fight, so much was thrown onto Maxlore that it allowed Inspire to kind of turn around and say, okay, well, you've got our damage threat from the jungle, but we've still got Cosq, we've still got Warlight, and it bought enough time for Sartorius to come from the bottom side of the map using his teleport as well. So this is the beginning of the fight. Watch for the teleport. It actually comes fairly late from Sartorius, if I'm not mistaken. Maxwell managed to get himself away, then Rux follows up on him as well. And look at how much is being used on jungle and support here. Teleport only just started, and in comes the AP from the side. And this is where it gets tricky for MOUZ. Cosq could have maybe got a little bit more out of this fight if they'd have picked the right targets to go for once this fight turns around this corner. Taric splits off, Sebek splits off, and Wendelbo can't really lock down Taric here, so they could have maybe got one more, but I think Cosq may have been out of rockets, actually, looking at it.
Yeah, he used a lot of rockets.
Yeah, I was like trying to count them subtly. I'm like, okay, I think that's like 8, so the respawn on the rocket hasn't gone through yet. I'm like, okay, I'll let you off on that one.
Yeah, still picked up 2 kills, 6 and 3, so IE still significantly ahead in this game. Baron is still alive though, so there is something for MOUZ to try and contest. Being the aggressors for MOUZ is so difficult unless they get the instant engage, because as IE kites back, they have the poke. If you chase through a jungle, there's going to be a wall there, which Maxwell is going to punish you for, or Sartorius just knocks you into his team with the ultimate. You
can see, though, the top lane Sartorius, we were wondering what was he going to go for? What build? Where was he going? What was he going to max? So he's gone Q-max into E-max, so is opting pretty much for the mobility and the wave clear coming out, and the massive damage in teamfights, of course, that comes from a Q if you manage to get it off. Plus the Rod of Ages, Abyssal Scepter now building tanky, so he's going for that kind of hybrid damage tank role, not hybrid damage, let me clarify that. The AP tank setup here, where he's playing kind of that mix of both roles here. So Sartorius is going to be fairly difficult to kill just from his severe I'm going to give up. He's going to be hard to kill.
He's going to be hard to kill. There we go. Got it. So is Maxwell in the jungle, though, because you saw all that focus. Oh, I'm going to hold that for a second, as Dan has been almost caught out. But Taric is there to be jumped to with Safeguard. But the engage from Beansu might be good here, looking for the ultimate. Lands on 3 people. Sebux with the ultimate as well. Maxlaw looking to burst down the back line, but Wendelbo's on the retreat, so is Warline. He gets knocked back into the team. 2 fast kills onto the 2 carries onto IE. And MOUZ may be able to get something from this. They are fairly chunked. I'm not sure if they could Baron.
With the Kalista, maybe they can turn for it. I think they're a little worried, though, just from Maxlaw's damage alone, if they step into the Baron pit between Maxlaw and Sartorius. I think they probably just prefer to try and push down a turret, but even then the wave clear is strong enough from Gragas to be able to deal with this. MOUZ get a great engage from Beansu coming in from the side. I'm more surprised that Inspire didn't communicate just to split up. Very rarely do you see an Ezreal and a Corki get hit by an unstoppable force.
Yeah.
Ezreal is like so difficult to hit that on normally. I wonder whether he used Arcane Shift earlier. So he was caught in the animation. Okay, he was caught in the animation of True Shot. Cosq couldn't get himself out of there either.
Yeah.
So the escape tools were up. Just fortunate timing in that kind of setup from Binsu. That's painful. It's just like, I'm going to kill someone with this true shot.
I'm dead.
Malphite.
Okay. And that was annoying in terms of their mindset as well, because it was just like, oh, should I split up or should I run further to my base? And then some of them were like, I'll run further to my base. Some were like, I'll go left, and they all just grouped in one position.
They all go left.
and all got hit by Malphite.
Oh dear. Probably not the best tactics to be like, move as a unit.
Yeah, but after that, Mouse didn't actually get that much. They just got those 2 kills, and because you still had wave clear from IE, they couldn't go for a tower siege. They couldn't go for Baron because Maxwell was still up and would probably kill them all. So they just had to go back and just be happy with those 2 kills.
Keep in mind, though, as we see Dan get caught.
Sartorius, the flash E! Blows up Tarek, and Sebex maybe under the same fate as Kozku comes in. Ultimate comes out for the slowdown, but the pillar keeps him in place. Sartorius finds his double. Rux now being chunked out with his ultimate. He should go down, but they're just waiting for that ultimate to come off. Dan was trying to protect him. Kozku into the base. The auto takes him out. Rux with a knock up the headbutt into the tower. Kozku, manages to get away with the Valkyrie. The double kill comes out. Binsu finally takes him down, and Sartorius is here to try and get the cleanup. Lands the Q, lands the auto, lands the Q from Warline, and that's another kill. The ace, the 5-for-1, and Inspire looking for their first win in this best of 2.
Right as I was about to say, Inspire haven't even got an objective in the last 10 minutes of the game. Suddenly they get a team fight.
Well, Nexus is not too bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, suddenly they get a team fight, 2 inhibitors, and it looks like they're going to be able to end the game fairly soon off this, because Inspire, it's likely just going to be a recall and end off this. 8,000 gold is their current lead. They even have 3 dragons alongside that. So 28 minutes into the game, they're looking great. Off this catch in the middle lane. And this is Dan was out of position here, forced to flash away, means that the rest of MOUs are falling back because it looked like Dan was trying to make a play. Looked like Dan was looking for a flash kick or something, so the rest of the team were just hanging around waiting. Another good pillar. That's one thing, honestly, that Wendelbo has been on top form with in this game. The pillars locking people down, and from there, this fight is just a matter of Inspire being ahead. Kozku gets himself into the fight, makes sure he flashes forward, then ends up in a bit of trouble because of it. Does, however, dodge the unstoppable force. I guess if there's one thing I wanted to avoid a Malphite with, I would like get a little helicopter and try and like fly away from it.
That's true. Rock can only go so far. But yeah, so far, Kozku...
That was like almost ominously prophetic. Like, a rock can only go so far.
Oh, I'm 14 and this is deep. This sounds like a Tumblr post. A rock can only go so far. Malphite things.
Okay. Right. Well, but, for now, it seems like he's going towards a 0-1 start in Challenger Series, so we'll see if he can sort that out for himself. Dan, can he get the steal off?
It's all on you, Dan.
Oh, the Q's timing out. Ooh,
he jumps in. Oh!
Ooh, I thought they were going to let it time out, but now the fight continues.
I wouldn't really call it a fight stress.
Yeah.
More like a lot of Mal's players dying very quickly.
By the time I got to continues, like, Tarek was already dead. I'm like, okay.
He's already dead.
And now the fight has ended at this point. This has been a great game from Inspire, though, when you look at it. Like, I'm actually really impressed by their decision-making to go, okay, well, they're MOUs in mid lane. We're just going to take bot and then win the game off it, basically.
I'm also impressed by the individual players. Kozku has shown up. In fact, everyone's shown up. And because of that, they'll be taking this first win in this best of 2. The Nexus goes down. First win over to Inspire.
Solid win. Really solid win when you look at it. Like, they take bot in here, but 15 minutes just because MOUs are out of position, nobody to defend. So much of that really comes from just a couple of phases of play. The inability for MOUs to hold mid lane drew them into then kind of fighting and throwing a lot at Inspire, and Inspire go, okay, well, we'll just take your bot tower at the same time you're trying to push mid, but we've got 380 carries. So we kill that tower super quick, give the attack speed stim. Oh, you're still pushing mid lane? We'll clear you out, stop your recalls, and take your inhibitor.
Yeah, and all of the momentum came off of that as well. I mean, even in a normal situation where you don't have 380 carries to kill a tower, that's still not a good trade. Taking mid-outer for an inner turret. But yeah, then the inhibitor goes down, then the pressure just kind of cascaded out of control. We had all of the other plays. Yes, they slowed down a little as they didn't have anything else to take, and Baron was up, and it's difficult to pressure as a poke team. But eventually they just kind of won out because Mouse had to fight them at some point, and then eventually they just got picked. Top lane though, Sartorius did extremely well with a pick we haven't really seen before in this current meta. Graga's top, went with kind of a tanky AP build and just did really well. Even in the early game with his ultimates, 2 kills.
I was a little bit skeptical on
Me too.
When we saw it locked, I was like, how's it going to do? I know it's been done before, but I'm trying to figure out where it plays. That damage, man.
Pretty strong.
I was not expecting quite that much. I was like, okay, we'll have some damage. No, like half health people off like QE.
We actually one-shot Tarek at the end there as well, and still had a combo to go. Anyway, we need to take a quick break while the team set up for game 2.